Right, Loz is back. Just a few months ago, we did a podcast, which you can feel free to go listen to, where we were talking about the 10 reasons why Liverpool won the Premier League.
Yeah, which was they're all still valid reasons why they won.
And those reasons will never go
They'll
away.
never change. Yeah, and that's what I love about that.
We thought we'd kind of come back to it because Liverpool find themselves in a tricky position, as do you.
Why?
As someone who is on camera talking about Liverpool,
Yeah.
you find yourself, the onus is on you to fix it.
Yeah, apparently so, actually, yeah. The onus is on me to hire, to fire, to get transfers done, to do everything. But also, at the same time, to defend my club at the right time, but also be humble enough to say, we're bad.
Yeah.
And you have to strike that balance in a room where the approach is, you're bad.
Pinpoint it.
Justify it. Then when you do, they go, why are you making excuses? You
really?
win. You can't win.
Do you know what? I've had a few of these conversations recently. I did a watch along with Rory Talks Football.
Great guy.
Of TikTok fame. And he was in a similar place where he was like, as an Arsenal fan, we've bottled it previously, so that can be thrown.
Yeah.
So if I kind of go, we're going to bottle it, we go, hang on a minute, you've got everything you need now. He's been doing it 5 years. But if you go, he then goes, I think we'll win it. And you go, ooh, slow down.
You, arrogant.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think there's also the eternally online kind of generation. If you spend too much time online, you will change how you evaluate football teams, I think.
That's interesting.
And I don't mean what you do. I mean more like the kind of, if you are in the churn of just constantly consuming, they're bad because of this. No, actually, they're good because of this. No, this stat trumps this thing. And you just get into this kind of top trumps idea of why a team is good or bad. Right. And it doesn't really ever answer the question, but it is just a constant form of engaging people.
Right,
so it only plays into engagement and making money.
It's not really about finding the true answer. It's actually more about finding an answer that's exciting enough to discuss.
And scintillating, but also like dunks on whoever it is at the same time. And I think Arsenal and City went through a bit of that last year, and now Liverpool are kind of having this. And it gives you no time to be able to just sit back and go, just chill out. People are texting me saying, should Slot go?
Are you okay?
No one says that to me. But should they go like, a Slot out? And so I've kind of labelled these people Slot skeptics. And I think the word skeptical is okay, but I think Slot out is a little too far.
Slot skeptic?
Yeah.
Is there, I feel like there's something that can flow better.
Yeah, probably, yeah.
The sloptics aren't great right now.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. That's good.
Thanks. So what we're going to do is we're going to put forward, because we're a little bit different here, maybe a little bit older.
Yeah.
And we've been through it a few times. And it's going to be interesting because basically I have found a couple of reports that have sort of utilised all the sentiment that's online when it comes to Liverpool. One being from weeks 1 to 4, I think it is, maybe.
I think it's 1 to 5.
1 to 5. The first 5 game weeks of the season when Liverpool were winning, but something didn't feel totally right.
Right.
And then now in game week 9, when it does feel, like you say, if you're being quite hyperbolic and trying to find some one key thing that just needs solving.
We've all found that one key thing. Every channel's found that one key thing.
Problem is they're all different.
They're all different things.
Yeah.
But we can talk. I think it's a good idea to break those down. I think the narrative is a good way of doing it because it's well and good naming stats and those kind of things, and I think those are fairly obvious. But actually, I think the narrative is kind of driving a lot of this skepticism of Slot.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so what's great about this? So we'll chuck a link in the description. So it's called Fan Narrative. You can follow them on Twitter. So as I say, it allows the sort of silent majority, maybe, that is at least tweeting, but maybe isn't getting the interactions that others might because of the way that social media is. It's kind of giving them an opportunity to be heard as it's all collated.
I like that.
But also, I think, like stats are kind of only... They need context around them, and stats can sort of be held up for one thing when actually it's kind of highlighting the opposite, of which I sort of did a bit of digging myself and have theories as well. And that's kind of part of all the fun.
Here's what I've learned. Actually,
fun?
No, it is
for
fun.
You, for me.
Yeah, it is fun.
We'll say for me.
So do you know that the funny thing is, someone said you go through every stage of every type of grief when your team lose, right? And I think we'll probably end up talking about grief in some capacity on this podcast.
However, you have to.
But I think what is interesting is I find myself thinking, I've got to go and kind of put the case forward. Whereas actually, as the Liverpool diplomat elect by me, I should. Is
that how you would describe yourself?
No, because it's
amongst the Liverpool.
It's actually an ironic thing because everyone always goes, "Why is his accent like that?" But I think I'd like to hear what you think and what your theory is and how that marries and where the truth is somewhere between the two. I'm interested to hear what you have to say.
I've got something to that point. I have a theory that Liverpool fans are really going to hate, and I'm nervous to say.
This guy's A1. It's like A1.
But I haven't totally decided. This might be cut out.
Are you going to venture that?
I think I've got to, really.
When will you venture it?
When we get to
midway.
I've actually got it written down within my running order. It's when we get to, so we've got at least 10 possible mistakes, which I think it's when we can kind of go, that's not a mistake, that's something else, and that's the whole point of this, right? But it's here under developing new synergies. That's right. Loz is on the pod. Which is a mistake 6.
I give you a license to use those. What? Having Lawrence on the pod is mistake number 6. Mistake number 6, nominating this guy.
Absolutely not. No, developing new synergies.
Right, okay,
is a possible mistake, which
I really enjoyed. I read the top line, but also sometimes I like to go a little bit blind into podcasts, just because I want to hear what you have to say. So
let's do it.
Take it away.
Sure. So what's interesting here, guys, is that from match week 1 to 5, when Liverpool were winning all of the games. Mm-hmm. I just think it's interesting how you do you see and smell something, but you smell it, but you ignore it.
I think that was me to an extent.
I think that has to be the case, right?
It's also what optimism does, and to an extent, I think you'll probably put some ideas out here. All of them will be covered by we were winning the games, but we knew that there were some what we would have called then teething issues. Mm. But the theory was, well, this team is good enough to get through those teething issues. It wasn't this team is already good, we think they're eternal. It was we are winning these games and we know that there is competency to solve the issues that we see, and also that the system didn't seem fully baked yet, which I still don't think it is. So weeks 1 to 5, that was what that was for, I think, Liverpool fans.
Okay.
And then enjoyment of the, Rio and Gamoa coming on and doing his thing,
Well, that's it. So let's compare the two, because during the early season wins, the following aspects were highlighted as working effectively.
Right.
So mentality and resilience.
That's interesting.
So fans repeatedly praise the never give up attitude, winners mentality monsters, marks of a champion. They never stop pushing. Late wins and getting the victory will help with that.
Sure.
As will substitutions and impact. Chiesa, Frimpong. How do you say his name?
Rio and Gamoa.
Ngamoa.
That's how I say it, but I might also be totally off.
Yeah. Defensive solidity, which that's what I think is interesting, is that in that first section,
we had 3 clean sheets, I think, in the first one.
Yeah. So while the attack struggled, they kept clean sheets or
Everton, Arsenal, and I can't remember the other team.
Burnley.
1-0
win there.
Burnley.
Yeah. Key individual contributions. Salah was getting some of those goals, crucial penalties.
The Trivela was coming out.
Szoboszlai's long-range shot as well, like clutch moments. And then overall results, which I think is good that that's the final one, because I think that's interesting, is that all of these are driven by, not performance, results.
Which is always the thing. The last thing you look at is the result.
Yeah.
Don't look at the result.
But I just think it's obviously a truth that we all know, but when you're kind of seeing it in this report, because the week-by-week confidence, that's where, and this is why this report's so cool, is that, and again, it's kind of obvious, but at the same time, we are all fighting against the win or the loss, right?
It helps to see it in black and white, and having someone break down, here's what we think everyone thinks, and then you read it and go, and to an extent, your brain critically evaluates it as it goes. So I don't think any of those points are wrong. But I think you could. What was that first one you did? The first point of
mentality and resilience.
Mentality and resilience, all these kind of things. I think all of those are assumptions based on the result, right?
Right.
But that was why there was such kind of jubilance in the Liverpool fans, was because, to an extent, Liverpool fans, we revel in these kind of late goal moments. We did it against Newcastle,
and you've done it for so long,
right?
So many years as well.
Yeah.
But the week-by-week confidence was interesting, because despite winning the games, there was a spike after the Arsenal game, and of course this is quite a small data set. But overall, and this was over Reddit, YouTube, and on X.
Wow.
The confidence in terms of the sentiment of everything was about 95%.
Well, that sounds high.
And by the time you got to Everton, it kind of dropped to about 70 odd. So although you're winning,
that's still a government.
And in terms of emotion, frustration was 24%, despite still winning kind of all those games.
That's kind of classic Liverpool fans, though, I think. We are quite frustrated.
Regardless, I always thought you were kind of
happy-go-lucky.
happy to get those wins, yeah.
I think we were quite frustrated with a few of just the lack of integration of the new players and those kind of things. And I don't think the Liverpool fan base are idiots, I think, and that piece of classic punditry there. But I think they are broadly quite evaluative of what's going on the field, and they do read it, especially the older guys. But maybe they're not on Reddit.
But I think the point is that even whilst winning those games, you would think the overall sentiment would be like severely positive. It was 52.27%, whereas the negative was 33.3%, which I think that's really interesting. So you could kind of smell and sense it, but I think we're all driven by the results. And we don't want to get away from that.
I'd love to know if this is just Liverpool fans or whether there is like a kind of... Because obviously, you're talking about Rory Talks Football.
Yeah.
Does Rory Talks Football
is he dragging the negative out?
Yeah,
possibly.
And I'm not, that's not a dig at Rory, but I mean more like that kind of person will be sort of going for a bit of engagement during the Liverpool games and sort of going, that rubbish bit there, this Arsenal team wouldn't do that, kind of like that.
Very true. That's very possible. Yeah. So now when we move forward to match week 9, we've lost 4 on the spin in the Premier League. And now it all seems... See, when you're losing, it's like, it's so obvious, just fix it, isn't it? But like when you're winning, it gets a blanket put over it, isn't it?
But I also think what's interesting is some of the issues we're seeing now are issues that were being flagged last March.
Yeah.
So kind of, the lack of Trent at right back, that was something we were already aware of because Trent wasn't playing every game. And we knew that Conor Bradley was good, but was he fully fit and all these kind of things. The lack of kind of midfield options that gave you the continuity to be able to play that system. If Luis Diaz wasn't in the side last year, did we have the same bite and dynamism and those kind of things? So that was the fear when we sold him. And a lot of people the Liverpool fans wanted to sell Diaz. No, I think broadly, Liverpool fans loved Diaz, but we just didn't know where he fit into this squad.
Oh, that's interesting.
That's where they're if you want to talk about synergy, it's about understanding where Richard Hughes and Arne Slot want the team to go and where us as fans being led almost by those people because we can't, we don't get to vote if we get the transfer or not. Anyway.
So on the JLA Substack, by the way, I had a chat with Josh Williams, who's at Distance Covered, is brilliant.
He's he's so good.
He's so good.
And him and Chris Pajak are like...
Well, yeah, it's not... Starsky and Hutch. Always watch that. Yeah. And I'm not trying to put that there, though.
He moves into that space. Not making fun of him.
Yeah, nearly. He said this, I'm not trying to throw Josh under the bus here, but it's Josh Bush. Schlott. I'm about to say Schlott, that's what I'm struggling. But he said, tons of faith. This feels like someone, now down the road, this is someone who's going, my spidey senses are going, something's not right here, but we're winning. Tons of faith. This is after the Newcastle game. Right. Tons of faith in Slot. Far more pragmatic than Klopp and already knows what's going on. True. But it's going to be an itchy few weeks until we get there.
I agree.
But obviously, what we've seen since has been
itchy.
Has been incredibly itchy.
Is this a wool jumper?
The turn on Slot has been pretty
from
heavy.
Who?
Well, I think it has to be a lot of Liverpool fans have to be a part of this. Sure. You're dodging it.
What am I dodging?
These Liverpool fans speaking here. This is the silent majority here. So now, supposedly, the problems are, and we're going to get into the bones of it, defensive vulnerabilities and set pieces and direct play against them, midfield imbalance and poor positional integration of new signings, attacking stagnation and over-reliance of key individuals, inflexible in-game adjustments and substitution timing.
I'd like to speak about that.
Deficiency. Well, let's work through all of them.
Right. So,
which one did you want to touch on?
Well, I've got to get in my guard position.
I know, get ready.
No, go on.
Well, let's start off. Okay, tactical issues.
Yeah.
Now, the 5 main things are...
Not many.
Yeah, I know.
By the way, can I just one
just
thing
to bring it back? Okay, go.
If they're obvious to us, there's no way Slot doesn't know about them. So when people go, how isn't he seeing it? I'm like, he is. There's a reason he continues, and there's got to be a logic behind what's going on.
Yeah. The only thing would be a feeling that the positive of a sort of, say, a tactical decision, it's something that he kind of can't let go of, and he feels like the positive side could still come from that situation. That's the only thing I would say.
And also, sometimes I think a lot of people sort of go, well, I just do this. And it's like, well, what's the what Slott's goal during the game? What is he trying to achieve? It's not does he get a goal or not. It is kind of what do we want to achieve? And then secondly, does he feel like that takes away from another aspect of the team? If we're going, well, just slip Szoboszlai into midfield or slip him, he'll play 10. But then where does Wirtz play? Where does Salah play? There's a lot of knock-ons, and I feel that is a real issue in the team at the moment. It's a team of knock-on effects throughout the side.
Is there another way you could say that?
No.
So, if you bring it down to the 5 key areas here, over-reliance on key players, poor defence, luck running out, which people might want to laugh at, but it's massive. It's an actual part of it, believe it or not.
Is this luck in date?
New signings and tactical issues.
Right.
Okay. So
Number 1.
Let's work our way through. Tactical issues, 27%. Suggesting it's tactical issues.
I thought you meant we had 27% tactical issues.
Yeah. Okay. So within that, we've kind of broken it down into a couple of aspects here. So first of all, defensive vulnerabilities. Poor defence is the second highest frustration for Liverpool fans at 23% behind tactical issues. But the two are very interlinked.
Yes.
How do you feel about this Liverpool defence? And because I think the big thing, like, again, when we go to the top line stats, the goals that you're conceding is just through the roof. You're still scoring goals. You're one of I think you're like second top scorers or something like that.
Yeah,
but you are conceding so many right now. Why do you feel like that is?
I don't think there is one issue that we are just conceding goals only because of that. And I think maybe there are some kind of misleading quotes out there, like where I think Slot's very Dutch. I think I said this on the podcast before. Right? He's very Dutch. And so he just speaks very frankly. But I don't think that the English press are, naturalised to such frank observations. And I think if you go to the Dutch league, you probably see everyone speaking in this way, and everyone would sort of go, "Yes, well, broadly correct, I would say."
I think so. This is why I wanted you on, because I think there'll be so many there's going to be bonus mistakes,
right?
And again, this is one where you can either agree with it or disagree with it. And I agree with the point that you're making. Because some people might put forward the idea that it's a mistake that is being really honest. But I think, again, that is driven by the result. I think he's being honest before when they were winning, and that was refreshing.
Yeah.
And when you're losing, that's like he's butthurt.
It's the same people that leave comments on videos like yours where they go, "Why are you telling them this? Don't give away the tactics." And I sort of go, if you think they're working on this level... Generally, we're walking around in the dark banging into walls, and the managers are sort of going, you did the high line thing. You got one of the very basics of the game. And we're going, that high line. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's not a dig at you.
No. We felt that one, but
you should do more of that stuff. I think it's great. I think if you go through position by position, you then evaluate the unit. So you've got the back 5, you could call it back 7, but let's do the back line to start, right? Mm-hmm. I think Alisson has always been excellent. I can't really fault Alisson, ever. I think we've actually seen how reliant on Alisson we are, and a lot of people are not speaking enough about his presence, is what I would call it. Aura maybe is a bit too far. But I think you could see that in the Brentford goals. You could see that in... there's been a couple of finishes. Maybe there's 1-2 times where I think I see a goal and I go, Alisson would have saved that.
Yeah.
The Mboma goal for Manchester United, Mamardashvili's already halfway down, his shoulders back, and Mboma...
Sade against Brentford.
The
one-on-one get out of jail clause that he regularly provides
is absolutely insane, which is why you can play such a high line.
Yeah.
But Mamardashvili, be it confidence, be it understanding of the system, just be it his actual strengths, I'm not sure he's quite at that level yet, or has the understanding of the way we want to play. And maybe just not the confidence. I think confidence is broadly a thing you could level at pretty much the whole team, apart from maybe Szoboszlai.
I think with goalkeepers as well, you just think goalkeeper, plonk, plonk. It's the same thing. They're different. There's different styles of goalkeepers. And Alisson's different to Mamardashvili, clearly.
And he's evolved as a goalkeeper during his time at Liverpool. And some people are saying, why are you talking about the goalkeeper? We know where the real issues are. But it's worth flagging. I think Alisson really gives that back line a lot of confidence. And he's a real presence in there. And not having him, I think Slot knew we wouldn't have him because he kind of flagged it, best ability is availability. And he wanted a very present goalkeeper. And Mamardashvili does have a good fitness record.
Yeah.
As do most goalkeepers. Fine. So I would say there's a few elements there. But you cannot blame... I think it's poor then to blame Mamardashvili for the goal conceding. But say he does save that in the first minute against Mboma and Liverpool go, all right, lads, switch on. that's what he afforded us, is the ability to go, come on lads, let's get into the game.
Yeah.
He's had to save that there, and really Mbeumo shouldn't have been in between Kerkez and Van Dijk.
And you can't really have it both. You can't have it both ways with Alisson, because over the last few years, obviously, Liverpool have been very, very strong. But he has got you out of trouble. That's his job.
It's kind of it is a goalkeeper's job. That's why Donnarumma is Man City goalkeepers, because he is very much a get out of jail free card who makes exceptional saves. And Ederson, I think, was the other way, where it was sort of like he very much contributed to the control that City had. And maybe we were seeing the end of that style of football, and so they moved back to like a Donnarumma style of goalkeeper, because that's where tactically Pep and maybe a few other people see the game going. So there's that, right? The Mamardashvili element, I think we could probably call that unfortunate timing, maybe a bit of luck on his part.
And I think that's why this is so interesting to me, because I think the recruitment overall, it's not wrong. I've done that 3 times now.
Right.
It's not wrong.
Well, don't do that either. That looks negative.
I actually do that when I'm comfortable.
Really?
And I get told off for that, yeah. Right. It's not wrong, it's different though. And like,
you sound like Ross on Friends.
No one
likes change.
But when it's different, that has again, we're going to use the word synergy a lot in this. It's like that for me is the overall issue and problem here.
Right.
Is that that's a really good recruitment because you've got a really good goalkeeper there. That should kind of work. What's really interesting is that sort of getting a really good player who's also a like-for-like profile, that will either work. Like we just recorded a video about about Bournemouth and how they're able to kind of go, okay, off you go, Howson, let's bring in this guy, or Triffer and Kerkez, and like that. But it's a profile thing. As exciting as these players are, the way that they play, they're able to kind of slot into those similar profiles.
So that's an interesting word where you slot in there, and not because of Varney, but because people are praising the Bournemouth changes, and maybe Brighton changed a couple of other people, and I think they do deserve praise. But Bournemouth have broadly, and some people are going to go, well, they've tweaked, broadly kept the same shape.
They play very similar.
Yeah. And Liverpool are completely looking to change their shape. And I think that is a big issue here for Liverpool, is transitioning not only in shape, so let's just call out a 3-5-2. I think that's the shape we're moving towards. In possession, out of possession, we can argue about those kind of things. But broadly, there will be 3 people you identify as defenders or kind of centre-backs, 5 people who you would identify as midfielders or wing-backs, so people who are kind of giving the team width higher than the defensive area, and then 2 goal-getting and attention-grabbing strikers in Ekitike and Isak.
So sorry, that 3 then, are you seeing Kerkez as almost essentially a centre-back?
At the moment, but I think that's why I was, of all the signings in the summer, I was like, oh God, Mark Gay is really going to change things for us. Because you then had, in my mind, and I'm not a coach, Van Dijk in the middle, Konate one side, Gay the other. And what Gay provided was different to Van Dijk and Konate, because neither of Van Dijk and Konate are particularly ball carriers. Some people in the comments are going to go, well, Konate's had those mazy runs. That's not the same as being a ball carrier. Having a mazy run and being adventurous every now and again is not the same as consistently carrying the ball out, being able to get out of jail free, and all these kind of things that Mark Gay provides. But where there's
wanting to and having to.
Correct, yeah. And to an extent, like also when you're a dominant side, then maybe Slot was saying to him, look, we want you to be able to be better at ball carrying. Why don't you try doing ball carrying sometimes? But he isn't that guy right now. Yeah. And I don't think we have the time to coach him, and I don't think he has the want to stay. So, you have to be there.
Oh, right.
And I think Mark Gay was kind of a line in the sand for Liverpool, where they were like, look, we're looking to change profile. Mark Gay is a very big departure from any of the other centre-backs we have, because aerially, he's not as dominant.
Right.
But he is very good at recovery tackles. He's very good at tackles. He's very good at winning the ball back in an almost midfielder-like fashion.
Right.
Deeper.
Okay.
And Konate is good at winning the ball back in a centre-back-like fashion, deeper. And he's very aggressive higher up the field, which pushes the midfield down. But it sounds like I'm naming the same things, but I think the nuance and the detail of how those 2 operate make a big difference.
Yeah.
So anyway, saying Mark Gay is not there, again, not an excuse, not really an explanation as to why the team isn't playing well. That 11 should be beating other teams. But I think if you're talking about synergy, I would add the word halfway house, hyphenated, into there. Liverpool are halfway between one system and another. and we're also between one team and another.
Totally agree.
And you can see that with certain players in there. And I think Van Dijk's approach is, I'm a veteran, I'm the captain, I will eventually leave this side, but when I leave, my legacy will be, God, that older guy really made Leone, he really held Leone's hand, or God, he really made Mark Gay feel confident. And what a way to leave the club. It almost in a Klopp-type fashion where Klopp went, let's all chant Arne Slot. Van Dijk will go, let's all get on Mark Gay. He's the new cap or whatever it is.
Do you think that?
Do
you think that's his personality?
I don't know, I don't. But I don't think it's directly I think he's a very competitive person who wants to play football at a very top level for as long as he can.
Yeah.
But I also think that Van Dijk seems like the kind of pragmatist who understands the way that his career is structured and understands that you become a legend at a club, not necessarily by always enforcing your will. And you could see the difference, I think, in the way that Van Dijk approached the contract situation last season, from the way that Salah approached the contract situation, and to an extent, Salah being taken out of the team.
Right.
We'll talk about that when we get further down the field.
Yeah.
2 fullbacks.
Yeah.
Kirkez just hasn't bedded in at all. When he's got space ahead of him, he looks like Kirkez from Bournemouth, but even then, he's not getting his crosses in, he's not getting the cutbacks, and he's broadly passing into a low block that Bournemouth just weren't playing against. Fine, I understand that. But he's not really adapting to what Liverpool need, and it seems like he's just very uncomfortable.
I don't think he's adaptable.
He's also making very fundamental mistakes. For instance, against Brentford, the first goal, that's his man at the back post. The man gets in front of him and heads it in. Ball goes on, and Kirkez is going, see where that ball went? And that frustrated me because I thought focus seems to be a bit of a thing for him.
I think the position he is on the pitch, I think is killing him. Like, not just like left back, but like Liverpool's so narrow, aside from Gakpo and Salah, both of whom Salah probably wants to drive inside. Gakpo absolutely wants to drive inside. And so like Kirkez is utterly like stuck in his positioning all the time. So when he gets the ball, he's got a guy who's kind of right at him anyway, and he's not natural enough to kind of just like evade that pressure.
Well, every now and again he does.
Backwards or safe.
Yeah, every now and again he does, and that's what makes it into the highlight reels. But you rarely.
But he's doing nothing else. He's not doing anything good.
He's not offering anything dynamic in the way that we want him to.
Which were all the reasons why everyone's going crazy about Bournemouth when he's at Bournemouth, because he didn't have to do any of that build-up stuff, and he was all the way up there, and he just created a goal against Man City, so you think he's good.
Which, to me, feeds into this idea of the positional change and where we actually want our fullbacks. Because, again, halfway house, we're playing someone on the left-hand side who I think wants to be further down the field, could and should be further down the field. And
I think he needs to be further down.
And we've not fully committed to that yet. And that's why I think against Frankfurt, where he had, we had more like a Robbo there, but like we would have had a left back that was able to be a bit more progressed. You saw us get all that joy. And you see what Kirkez's heat maps, I think, can be a bit misleading, but you see Kirkez's heat map is getting deeper and deeper and deeper as his confidence goes and as Liverpool get more and more conservative. And then on the other side, Liverpool look weirdly like quite asymmetrical at the moment. Bradley's very progressed, leaving a lot for a low confidence Konate to do. And Konate is just treading water right now. I think broadly the theory in Liverpool fans' heads goes similar to Trent last year. It's like, just keep myself fit and then I'll be in that white kit. Like, that's the way it goes.
And right. Were you aware that was going to rhyme?
He is a poet and he just wasn't aware of it. So I think that the way that he is playing right now will, maybe confirmation bias way, we go, you're not playing well. Madrid. So we will automatically blame that rather than the system change and his low confidence. Personally. To an extent, I think maybe that might have had an impact on his confidence.
I think it's the players around, like the chemistry is just utterly not there. And I think in the back line more than anywhere else, it's not there. And I think it's when you think of a back four, and when you look to your left and you look to your right, every single person in that back line is kind of not enjoying it. So to
including Van Dijk.
And that's, I'll say it, I guess I'll say it now. Van Dijk's leadership...
Is this the
moment?
This is the take?
This is the moment, and I'm always willing to change it, and I'm utterly aware that Van Dijk is sensational. But
and should you want to interview him, you are willing to take back any of these comments? Yeah.
No, because I am not doubting for a second he's a great leader. But is he a great leader in this situation?
So I have actually scripted out another video where I speak about the lack of leadership from Liverpool right now. And to an extent, I call out Van Dijk. I very much call out Mo Salah, but I do call out Van Dijk and some of his issues in terms of leading. But also I call out Arne Slot to an extent and say all the people who seem like big figures at the club at the moment, none of them are really, they're kind of just parrying the blows rather than actually just going, it's not good enough. Right. And Robertson seems to be the only one that's really said, it's not good enough.
Right.
And I think he's right. So sorry, finish about
that. But I think in terms of personalities around you, right, Virgil van Dijk's leadership, when you have Henderson and the whole kind of identity of a Klopp side, Van Dijk and his like barking is not too scary because you've got Van Dijk, you've got Henderson in there as well, who's also kind of barking. You've got Robertson and Trent who are used to the barking.
And
they're used to going and winning, and so they're not the cortisol. I went down the wormhole yesterday because I was looking at sort of team dynamics, and I do feel like this is something. The way that Van Dijk is behaving is due to kind of frustration at the level and the quality. Now, I would put Van Dijk in the same sort of captaincy qualities of a Roy Keane or a Gerrard, for example. Or a Hendo. I feel like, and I think you're maybe seeing this with Brentford and maybe why they kind of brought him in. Yes, Henderson kind of wants those high level standards, but I think there's a little bit more empathy. You've heard so many of those stories of him kind of, he's just in his bones is a great empathetic leader, I think, right? And I think you've seen that maybe with Trent.
That's why he's, by the way, consistently in the England squad. And I'll keep saying it. Like,
exactly.
People keep saying, why is he in the England squad? It's not to play, guys. It's not to play a full 90.
No.
It's to be in training.
It's to set standards.
And it's to be the voice that you hope someone else, when he's then not in the squad, goes, Hender's not your best step up.
Yeah, but there's something in that as well. As much as in elite sport, you're looking for the standards, which Van Dijk drives, Gerrard drives, Keane drives. In the wrong scenario, you're creating real high levels of cortisol in people that don't feel capable.
Which is what Ronaldo did at Manchester United when he returned.
Yeah, I think there's similar elements.
It becomes this almost unachievable standard, but it is achievable if you take baby steps. But because you've got a guy who's talking about this highest of high standards, and this is partially why we're going through all of these things, all of these seems like baby steps, but actually the problem would be baby steps in the Premier League is not really possible. It's kind of a binary situation. You're either playing well or you're not at this level, right? Yeah. And Van Dijk constantly having these high standards means that as Liverpool get lower and lower in confidence, that seems more and more of a jump. And the anxiety to get back to that level doesn't allow you any of this improvement time. Yeah. So to an extent, Frankfurt was like, oh, a little jump. It wasn't actually, we went back at those standards. Frankfurt in the Champions League, and Frankfurt, a team had been stripped in the summer and are known now in the Bundesliga to not be the same standard of side and to be very leaky in defence. So, but confidence goes back up a little bit. Momentum maybe feels that way. Brentford would have done a little bit more of that. But weirdly, the way that it's working, it's just, there's no momentum being built.
But that's what I think I would, like if I was kind of in there, I would want to talk to Van Dijk and go, do you think your form of leadership, and we all see it on the pitch, and he's an incredible voice, but is that someone like Kerkez, is he feeling competent in his role? No, because tactically he's in a different position that he doesn't really want to be in. Yeah. He's also really nervous because he's got Van Dijk barking at him, for want of a better way of saying it. And then that leads to him being so much more anxious on the ball in terms of what he's doing. The same when Van Dijk looks to his right, Konate. Now, in previous seasons, you would have Trent, right? Now, Trent is used to Van Dijk barking, but he is also, Konate would have to go, if I just do my defensive stuff and give the ball to Trent, he can deal with that. But because Bradley is a kind of a younger lad and he's out there and he's very different, you've got Bradley, who on the ball is like kind of competent to a point, right?
The Konate he gets, the better.
But you watch those games. Watch when Konate gives the ball, makes any kind of mistake. Same with Kerkez. There's constant moments in the Palace game. There's constant moment. There's a very clear moment with Kerkez actually when Van Dijk plays a ball to him. And okay, yeah, there was like a really clever little pass inside that he could have played, but he kind of took a touch. But it was actually Van Dijk playing not the best pass. And then, 10 seconds down the road, Van Dijk, once the ball goes out, he turns and absolutely hammers Kerkez.
Yeah.
Those things are leading to cortisol as opposed to oxytocin of like, we're cool here, we're calm here. And actually, the one person who's kind of, I think it could be a new leader for this group, and again, it comes back to this halfway house of the past and the present, the identity of that then and what will need to be Liverpool moving forward is, I don't think Kerkez is that kind of, you don't get that personality from Kerkez. You don't really get that kind of personality from Conor Bradley. You don't get it from Konate. You don't really get it from a McAllister. He's kind of a quieter player.
So he's been taken into the leadership group, but I think as more of like a lead by example kind of thing, or kind of. Right. And actually, I think he's exhausted.
Vert's similar kind of thing. You've not got
he's also 22.
You've not got those loud, aggressive personalities that allow it to be a kind of intimidating for the opposition as opposed to intimidating for each other. So that's something that I think they need to look at. The only person who I feel like is making people feel more relaxed is Szoboszlai.
And that's because of, he's had very, very good performances. I think Szoboszlai has been our only consistent performer this year.
And maybe Gravenberch when he's in there.
Gravenberch when he's in there, enough. I think that people are beginning to explore, maybe people, so I think broadly maybe not, but like there are a lot of people who are beginning to question what the midfield structure is and why Gravenberch maybe doesn't fit in the long term. And most people are talking about his ball progression ability.
Baby with the bathwater there for me.
Yeah, but it also might be the wrong time to evaluate some of your more solid players. We've got some really solid guys, and it might be that in 1 or 2 seasons we go, right, okay, we bought Wharton.
Right.
We're going there. But that's not, this isn't a good time to go, let's do a quick squad evaluation, guys, and just grade. So stand in line and grade each other as to who's the most competent. This isn't the time to do those things and pick at people's confidence and pick at their status. It's the time to do the opposite of that as Liverpool fans and go, Gravenberch, you've been really solid. Do more of that. Szoboszlai, you've been really solid. Continue to evolve in the team and all those kind of things. That's where I really have an issue. And I think Frimpong, we can't really talk about him yet because I think Frimpong hasn't really been on the field. And when he has been on the field, I just think he's down the other end again, attacking-wise.
Where he wants to be, right? You want people where they want to be.
But again, that feeds into my theory of we want to change our shape. And people keep going, they're not a right back, they're not left back. You're right, they're not. And that's where if we saw one more defender, we would feel maybe a bit more.
And it would have been, to put it into like editing speak, this feels like a really horrifically cringeworthy long transition.
Right.
When it's interesting. If you'd got Gay, you could have gone jump cut, bump.
Yeah.
You could have gone straight to. And if you look at say like a Sunderland, the amount of changes they've made, like you either need to make it look like there's no transition because the profiles are exactly the same, or you've got to jump cut it.
Yeah.
And you're kind of caught in this abyss of this like. Yeah, just long transition.
You just get to continue the edit analogy. Sometimes you get lost. You watch it 5 times back, and you go, "I know I can fix this, but I don't actually know how." And you kind of need one other person to watch it and go, "Oh, the pacing's all wrong there," and then you just go back and edit things a little bit. But we all know this from putting videos together and just putting ideas out there. And football is very similar. Sometimes you can get a bit lost in the source and get a bit lost in the team dynamic and the pressure and all those kind of things. I don't think Slot's not big enough to deal with this. I don't think it's about being big enough. There's this rubbish going around at the moment about Klopp being open to returning to Liverpool. Thanks, Steve, for that. And
Steve
Bartlett on the pod, he went, "Could you?" And Slot sort of Klopp in the trailer sort of goes, "Well," and it's sort of like and then he goes, "Shh. Have you ever done Keel?" So I think there's Slot. I would say, and we'll call this at the top, is not in any danger of losing his job.
They will remain nameless, but it was someone doing watch-alongs, and they went, "I'm going to have to decide if I'm slot in or out now," and I'm going to give you an answer to that in just a minute. But first, and I was just like, what planet are we
talking about? Like, maybe externally, and in troll land, again, being eternally online will really change how quickly you make opinions.
It's so sad to me, that.
I've not heard one person go, Richard Hughes is broadly responsible for the recruitment of this side. And Slot will go, I can work with that. And maybe he might go, I really like that guy as well. But Richard Hughes has been brought in as a director of football to direct the football, right? Whatever the hell that means. You've then got the technical director of Julian Ward, but those 2 guys are responsible for the players who then are fielded by the coach. And they've, to an extent, and I know a lot of people want to blame Slot, put Slot in this position where what he has to do, and what keeps coming into my mind is Andre Villas-Boas at Chelsea. He has to tell Salah, we're moving to a system where either you have to change.
It's like John Terry on the plane when it's not first class.
Right.
Yeah.
Either you have to change, or actually we need to acknowledge here, you were retained on a contract because we didn't want to lose the value in you as a player. And the reality is you went around Europe and no one in Europe offered you the contract that we offered you because they didn't see the value in you last summer. No one in Europe was going to offer Salah 400 grand a week.
Right.
PSG, Real Madrid weren't. They just got all these new guys. And that's what one of his outs. PSG weren't because it's PSG. And they're not going to go, well, why would we get Salah
30 plus in the
Bayern weren't because Bayern were looking at Elise and Diaz and all these guys, and rightly so. So his only option really was Liverpool or maybe a mid-level, we're punching up type side. And I don't think he wanted to take that. And that's a reality that Slot is now kind of left with. And it's horrible to be saddled with Salah. But look at where Salah has performed his best football. Look at where he scored his goal the other night against Brentford. He was literally standing exactly where a striker stands. He wasn't coming from wide to in. Maybe his movement was, but his off ball was, I'm right here.
Yeah.
He was acting as a striker.
But it's amazing that there is revisionism in all of us here. Like, me and you sat here and was like, you have to give him a contract. Like, this guy's a joke.
But I don't disagree with that. I still think that's the right decision to do that. A, to retain the value, and if Saudi come back in and go, we'll give you 60 million, then you go, well, we paid him 20 this season, but we got 40. Great. The assumption would be, hey, he's an old head who, if we're bringing in Isak and Ekitike and all these guys, he can hold their hand. He held Nunez's hand for 2-3 seasons, 2.5 seasons, whatever you want to call it. And he's a leader in the team, and he's a big voice, and he's a big person, and you're going to want to play alongside him. You see, any time Wirtz is coming out at halftime or at the beginning of the game, they're chatting.
Yeah.
And that's not chance that he's gravitating towards big personality. But now we're in a difficult situation where I don't think he thought it would maybe happen this quick that the team has transitioned like this. And I also think he's not performing to the level he thinks is there. But in order to redeem yourself, you have to be given the minutes on the field because you can't redeem yourself in training.
The thing I'd love to know is that, like, whatever that initial plan of Richard Hughes is, and is it one where, look, we didn't get Gay this time, but we were going to move to what you're saying? Like, is that wholeheartedly how quickly is the plan changed?
I think it would have happened way quicker if we get Gay. I think it happens like we go and boom, new system.
And that decision is Arne Slot and Richard Hughes, or Richard Hughes saying, look, we're going over there, Van Dijk's getting older, Salah's getting older, like, yes, we've got him. Like, that feels all a bit too perfect to me for it to be this bad.
What? Which bit feels perfect? Sorry, I don't quite understand.
This idea that, like, rats, we just didn't get Gay when you could probably could have given 5 million more and you probably would have still got him.
No, I understand that.
Because the tactical framework feels so different. It's not from one team to another team, and it's just like, okay, we've got to pick you out and bring them on. Sorry,
by the way, there's
an uprising going on next door.
I think broadly, you're right. I also think there was an assumption that Mark Gay would come to the club and that
it'll be fine.
Yeah. And then Glasner was really the kind of the sticking point there, wasn't he? And that became a real issue for us.
Right. The final thing I want to say on the defensive vulnerabilities,
right?
Mistake 1 of 10.
Yeah.
Don't worry, it won't be that long. We'll rattle through it for you. Was I sort of had a look into like the defensive actions because a lot of people are talking about the difficulty kind of in terms of like winning duels and things like that,
which they haven't done.
They haven't been able to win. Yeah. What's interesting is, and I think there's 2 things at play here. So first of all, they've got Liverpool got the 4th most clearances this season, 295.
We could have made some more, and we would have had less goals conceded. There are a few times where the clearances we haven't made have actually been the real issue. So the Brentford goal, there's another one against Crystal Palace where Kirkes kind of messes around with it. Could be a clearance there. There are a number of times where our lack of clearances, which could be considered to be a weakness anyway if you're clearing the ball, is poor.
Well, I think there's a couple of things at play. So also, like defensive errors that have led to a shot. Also 4th highest on that with 9. But yeah, in terms of clearances, only Burnley, Crystal Palace and Sunderland are above you.
Yeah.
And then middle third tackles, you are bottom, whilst having probably the highest possession, I think, in the league this year. What that speaks to me is how the opposition are playing against you.
Yes.
Long balls, getting those crosses in. And because of it's a smaller team this year, it feels like, for sure. Or maybe a slightly less tenacious team.
Well, I think maybe the issue is also McAllister He doesn't look fit, doesn't look anywhere near it.
Again, another player who's in a position I don't really think he wants to be.
Yeah, I think that, and I think also that Liverpool don't want him to be. I think McAllister's probably the next one to move on from that midfield. And, I've been kind of banging that drum for a little while now. Not because I don't rate him or because I don't think he's a good player, but because I see other fits and other profiles that would be better for what Slot wants to achieve.
Right.
And I think with the eye test, you go, God, he's so tenacious. He wins all these tackles and look how busy he is and all these kind of things. That's not the same as being good or like best for the system. And the same for Salah and the same possibly for a couple of other guys in this team. It's like, we can't keep going on the eye test of, but he was busy. It's not what Slot's asking him to be. If anything, a player looks busy in this Liverpool side, that's actually not good.
Right.
We actually want them to look quite in control and fluid and flowing.
Yeah.
And that's why we've got Isak and Ekitike and those guys.
Midfield imbalance, build-up problems is supposedly the mistake. Midfield lacks a real progressive passer in build-up.
Well,
I'm
that's
not sure
where
I totally agree with that.
That's where Curtis Jones and Szoboszlai have been implemented. And, you saw against Frankfurt, and to an extent against Brentford. I don't think they were particularly at fault against Brentford, maybe defensively, but like in terms of the way they work, getting the ball forward, Szoboszlai and Curtis were actually quite effective.
I agree. I think like on the ball, I think that is the future for you guys, is having those two guys there that can kind of start with the game kind of in front of them. And if they need to drive, they can. There's a lovely moment where Coach Jones kind of like had someone on him and did a little jink and then off he went.
Yeah.
Szoboszlai is, similar thing. He can kind of go and do that. It's progressing in different ways. Whereas the Man United game, it was one where they just let Gravenberch have it.
Yeah.
And that's not him not being progressive. That's everyone else not really being available and the opposition defending in a decent manner.
But also on top of that, his ability then to pick out a pass, I would say, isn't as good as Curtis Jones. And I would say there are times where also that's not his role. So sometimes he is looking for people. And I do feel you looked at Liverpool's attack, it was quite static against Manchester United.
Massively. But again, I go back to Kerkez where I go, if that's a problem, that left back, the way they're playing, he needs to not be Kerkez-like. He needs to be another. Yeah. And the amount of times they go, nah, we'll go here instead.
And weirdly, the conclusion is then the team don't trust him. And I don't think
I don't think they do trust him.
I don't think that is a fair way to then say, well, that's going to define his season, is what I'm saying. I agree. I don't necessarily think. I don't think
they trust him, but I don't think that's his fault either. I think he's the pressing trigger, and because he's like 5-6 yards too narrow. That means he's closer to the defender as well.
Who's pressing?
Because Gakpo's in his space.
Sure.
So that's why I keep going back to like, yes, if Gakpo tucks in and he does an overlapping thing, then cool. They like twice a game they'll play it to him.
Well, so weirdly, against Brentford, and Slot called it out in one of his press conferences, he said Gakpo hasn't passed him the ball enough. And actually it was kind of a very, it was very Dutch again, call out, sort of like, well, he's not passing the ball enough.
Flat, yeah.
He just did it. And so he did do it a few times. The frustration then was when he got it, he almost seemed surprised and was sort of like, got it back.
Yeah.
And then he'd sort of waste a cross into the air. And I think that was another one of your points further down the notes, is like, we do just hang all these bizarre crosses into the box. And a big thing for Liverpool is defensively and offensively, we just aren't winning second balls. We're, Van Dijk and Konate.
Yeah.
The two are aerial dual beasts. And the ball goes down and a player gets it and it's not one of ours. Or they get it and then they instantly lose it. And that's a real problem for Liverpool, because I think we were used to winning a lot of those second balls and used to having players in those spaces. And I think second balls sometimes can be a little bit like, Konate and Van Dijk are looking to knock it into an area. And at the moment, I'm not sure anyone knows where they're going to be to pick up the ball in those areas. So the opposition are just hoovering the ball up. And that works quite well against Liverpool.
New signings, 90% of the frustrations from Liverpool fans and a few others, which is probably true. So within that, a couple of mistakes, maybe integrating new signings and system changes. We've kind of spoken about that quite a lot.
Florian Wirtz hasn't been mentioned much on this.
No, I was going to say, and this is I think it's a good way of putting it, Wirtz being optimised.
Yeah.
I feel like his starting position should be on the left. And
then allowed to drift inside
and
to
allowed
the centre.
To drift inside, but I think him and Ekitike could work. They could work well together, but even actually the Schade goal, it's a moment where Wirtz plays it to Ekitike, but they're kind of quite close together.
Yeah, and it just breaks down.
And it breaks down, and then they're in trouble. I feel like those two can intertwine and change.
Wirtz has had a couple where the weight of the pass hasn't quite been there, and
I feel he just plays it quick.
Sometimes I think he's too quick for. I'm not saying that he's therefore, his IQ's 120 and Ekitike's like 80. That's not the case. Sometimes he just plays it too quick for the other player to be ready for it and in the right position. And it can look a little bit almost lackadaisical or sort of like not invested, but I know that's not the case.
No, that for me makes me think, don't worry, I'm still not worried about him.
No.
I'm really not.
What I would say is I think he was in his own head for a little while.
I agree.
And I think the other players knew it. And I think...
He was poor against Brentford, very poor.
Yeah, and I think he does, but you could see, weirdly, play against Frankfurt and he sort of goes, well, this is the domain I'm used to. I've played in the Bundesliga. I know where the space is going to be. And it wasn't as if the spaces were all that different. It was just that he almost looked like, I know this. I know where I move, I know where I go, and it just worked.
Is that Salah being out of it?
We're coming to the big conclusion, really, of I think, I said this when I called out the 3-5-2 on my channel a few months ago now, and I said, I think that's where we're going with the Mark Gay signing. And everyone went, you're crazy, like you can't drop Salah, why would we re-sign him if that was the case? And I think it's because we wanted to reprofile him for a season and then sell him.
Right.
And I think it's that simple. And I think it was, the problem is that also then doesn't work with all these other narratives of, actually last season was a good last hurrah for Salah. It was a good, you've got your moment, the crown's on your head, I was brilliant, now free to Saudi or whatever. But I just think he still thinks he's got something to give.
Which is understandable. He's been unreal.
By the way, he's been poor, but he has also had contributions. And he has also, he scored against Brentford, but before that, there are moments where you go,
But does that come back to the problem overall in that initial report where, you're going off, the output of a win or a loss, a goal or a not scoring, as opposed to the performances in between?
Right, so that's the other thing with Brentford. And, maybe we are putting a lot on Brentford, but I think that it was just the last game that happened. These have been serious issues. Anyway,
I thought it was bad too. Watching it, you're like, everyone is a second off. And people aren't going where they think they're going to go.
Right.
And therefore, if you think, then your touch is just a touch off. And that it was just all over the place constantly when you got the ball.
And people are sort of now speaking about, was it muscle memory from Klopp and those kind of things? I don't think that's the case. I think Klopp won it in his own right last season.
That's another way of saying chemistry, though, isn't it? Oh, sorry, the victory last season.
Yeah.
I think there's elements in it. But
it's his team. It's the same as saying Gerard Houllier won the Champions League in 2005.
But why blow it up? Retain chemistry if you can. But now they've obviously gone, we've got all this money, we've got to spend all this money, and let's do that. I mean, have they wholeheartedly been willing to integrate this team? Because ultimately, if you went 4-4-2, Wirtz, Szoboszlai on the right, two of your midfielders there, whoever it might be, Granberg and one other, right, McAllister or Curtis Jones, Ekitike and Isak up top, 5 games, off you go.
Yeah.
If you went and did that,
yeah, I'd go 3-5-2, but in defence it would look like more 4-4-2.
Yeah, but you haven't got Gay right now, have you? So you can't really do that.
Sure, I just don't think... I'm kind of interested to see Gomez.
People want to see Gomez, don't they?
He's not going to happen.
But if you do that and commit to that, the chemistry will go through the roof.
Yes, I agree. And I think the real problem there is, I think Salah is still very influential in that dressing room. And I think he is... I'm not saying he's toxic. That's not the way that I would put it. But I do think he...
Paul Machin used the analogy and example of Ronaldo when he kind of came back, where he was doing his thing. He was scoring goals.
Right.
How can that be a problem?
Well, I kind of just referenced...
But it kind of was.
Yeah. And I was very sceptical of Ronaldo when he came back to United. I think it was a bit of a renaissance for United fans. But I don't think it was good or healthy for the whole team. And I think, maybe Richard Hughes and Arne Slot have relied on Salah being mature and being the leader that we need him to be. And actually, I don't think he's quite... Maybe there isn't. And
also, in your reality, if you're Salah or Ronaldo, you go, hang on a minute. I'm the reigning,
top scorer.
Top assist,
MVP of this team last season by a very long way.
You can totally understand why he's like, hang on a minute, why are you blowing this up?
But that's why I think, to an extent, I shot with James Milner the other day on a brand thing. And I just remember looking at him and just being like, you totally get and accept what you are. And that's not me saying, he's over the hill or whatever. I don't think he is. I think he's still a great and competent midfielder. But I'm sure if I saw the same with Jordan Henderson right now, I'd feel very similar. He accepted what his role, Milner accepted what his role was at Liverpool. Hendo chose to go somewhere else. That's fair enough. Salah at the moment, I think, is struggling with entering the twilight of his career, which over this time could be 5 years, but it's still the twilight. You know, whether you want to say he's still performing really well and whether he'd actually have better output probably somewhere else where they play towards his strengths. But it is still the last third, put it that way.
Yeah.
And I think he's struggling with that at the same time as dealing with, this is the first time I'll say it on the podcast, the passing of a teammate who we know, I don't want to ever project on someone, but I know how a lot of the men in my life and a lot of men deal with losing people. And I've been lucky enough not to have a close friend die like that, and so I don't want to project it. But I think it does make you consider and maybe more reactive to your own life situation, where you begin to go, I am also mortal to an extent. Like time is passing by, and I need to maximize it. And it can make you. I'm not saying he's irrational, and I'm not saying he's mean. You know exactly what I mean when I'm saying that, and I'm kind of. It might sound like clutching at straws, but actually, what I am.
How can it be clutching at straws?
What I'm actually saying is, therefore, is it fair to put this kind of pressure on him, or is it actually better to go? You know, he's emotional at the end of every game right now, and it's not me saying. I'm not saying that as like a come on, mate, pull yourself together. I'm saying, as fans, that tears me up to see that. I hate that, and I feel like removing him from that limelight for a little while and publicly explaining that, possibly, maybe you can't do that due to politics, whatever, might actually be a really good idea. But the problem is, you've got this juggernaut of AFCON coming up. Jeez. You've got 400k a week, so people, the press make a big thing about that. And I just think there's, it's not also, Liverpool, but you get what I'm saying.
No, I know exactly what you mean. I think there's a few things here. Like, I think
by the way, also without that being a crutch for. Because I am getting a bit bored of the old the idea that Jota not being there is some people are saying we're using it as a bit of a crutch. I think that's a little bit disingenuous.
Yeah, I think first of all you got what makes Salah great is an elite mentality, right?
Yeah,
but I think he's also like you've heard him speak about like how in the summer he will go and he will sit and reflect, and then he'll come back kind of stronger. Yeah. This summer with what's happened, it's both in the background of a kind of every room for them. Yeah. It's also like, even if it's down the road as in it was a couple of months ago, that is still an exhausting thing for that group. Mm-hmm. And I think also in terms of the group dynamics, what's really difficult here is, the influx of new people who cannot understand the situation. And even the people that won the league last year with Jota, that is a different group to Robertson, Alisson, Van Dijk, Salah, of course. Like that, those guys, you've got Van Dijk, who I think feels like he's kind of being let down, for want of a better word, by new guys kind of trying to find their feet, and obviously all the changes, because it's never one thing. Robertson is being kind of, it's suggested now that he's just not up to it anymore.
See, I don't really think that's fair, but
I agree. Yeah. I think you absolutely. The first thing I would do is I would take Kirkers out. I think it's too much for you right now. Sorry, I just chucked him. Put him down, and I'd bring Robertson and go, look, just watch him and find your feet there. Right?
Can I ask a question? Is there any logic if I wanted to play my 3-5-2 in having Robbo and Kirkers, but Robertson playing as a very defensive left-sided centre back?
Luke Shaw it? Yeah. I mean, maybe. But I think the thing is, you can be certain of is Robertson is on it, like mentally as much as anything, and because he's been through it all. But sure. But my point is that in terms of the group dynamics, and what Van Dijk knew and they all knew, that I think when something like that happens in the summer, I think that it brings them, it sort of others them a touch, if that makes sense, and also kind of brings them together a bit more. But because they're all plus 30, it feels more like it's kind of, it detaches them, and this is just a theory obviously, it may gently detach them from the rest of the group, because the rest of the group are battling other new things, and whilst they're battling this, whilst also being, hopefully, dragging up the team. Yeah. I think it's a very complex issue.
And it will impact each of them differently, and maybe that's a cliched thing to say, but I think it will. And I think, it's also something that we can't really know. Like, we can't say that. So that's why it's easier to stick to tactics and kind of outcomes and results almost. And at the same time, I think also there's a lot of people who don't want that to be the case because they want Liverpool to be a strong side, because they want the league to be a strong side, because they want the outcome to be that we won the league in a strong league, or they don't want to be able to soften that blow in any way. But I think that's, again, being eternally online is having just absolutely no empathy for other people and what they're going through.
I think also, but like the accumulation of all of it. Like add to that, like, oh well, you've won, so win again. That's the thing.
Sure.
The amount of games, like the emotional toll on that, like in terms of being up for it every single time, like all these different things. It's like it's a hell of a lot. And then when you add that leads to maybe in some way then becomes kind of some kind of lack of freedom, because you've got a lack of freedom anyway because the team is changing as well. Like it's all of those different things. So it definitely needs to be, like, there needs to be a part in that, because the people that you're relying on are the people that are affected by that the most.
Totally get that.
In terms of those missing profiles, you can see them everywhere. I think Diaz in a huge way, in terms of, say, those middle third tackles, him coming back and making those, that energy that he brings, and Jota exactly the same when he would be playing up front. Even Darwin Núñez maybe as well, and actually making those runs the other way. Trent, we've spoken about how as much as he might have been a kind of defensive liability, that's the strength that Konaté has more than anything. So he's excited and happy to go and do that.
Right.
As opposed to, you can't just be that progressive passer. It doesn't work like that. So that's a huge loss.
I also think that we wanted to shift the creativity more to the centre of midfield, into Szoboszlai, into Wirtz, and to whoever, Curtis Jones to an extent, and just have a more creative unit there that could drift, and also would have these options of Frimpong, creativity, or kind of at least energy and creativity. Kirkez, output. I won't call him creative, but I'd say he's got output. And that feels to me it feels a bit more repeatable than just saying to Trent, hang on in, mate. Or got that ball.
Because it is, that's the thing, is you can't, like, his ability to at some point in a game go, boop.
But he was a get out of jail free card to an extent. And this is why I was sort of saying we saw these deficiencies last year, because we didn't always have him in the team. But when he was in the team, it was like 3 balls a game where it was sort of deadly. But that's where we're shift again. Commit to the Wirtz thing, build around him, and I think you get some of that pleasure.
I totally agree. The sort of pairings as well, like Diaz and Szoboszlai at the front of that press, I think is an interesting point. Got Isak and Wirtz now, or is it going to be Isak and Nekatike? That's something that they're going to have to kind of evolve and understand.
I think it's all 3 of them. And also then I think you rotate in and out depending on kind of the shape that you're facing, right? And I think Liverpool, one thing we are talking about is we keep talking about starting 11s, and everyone's obsessed with what's Liverpool's starting 11. I think you could equally talk about what 11 is Liverpool going to end the game with. What 11 is it that Slot has the shift in emphasis and play with that he was so good at last year, particularly against Brentford. I was at the Brentford away game last year, and Liverpool went 2-0, 1-0 down, it was like 2. We were down in different orientations. And Slot shifted the emphasis with Darwin Núñez, who was just dead to him. And, maybe that sounds like a slightly insensitive thing to say, but I'm not, you know what I'm saying when I mean that.
Yeah.
He brought Darwin Núñez on, and we just force-fed him. And Brentford just couldn't deal with the force-feeding. And 2 goals from exactly the same spot. And that was like, wow, Slot really observed that. Same with the PSG goal last year, same with the Rio and Gamoa goal this year. These things don't just leave Slot or leave the team, but I think they do leave when we go 1-0 down early on through silly defensive errors that are caused through not having the stability in defence in the first place, and to an extent, the whole plan goes out the window. Then we're giving away the Brentford penalty. For me, I still watch that replay and go, play the one angle through in real time and show me that his foot is actually on the line. I still want to see that in slow-mo. And, if Liverpool are chasing 2-1, not 3-1, I think the game is very different in the way they approach. 3-1 seems insurmountable at that point.
Yeah. But the game state's important. Like, if you think, who's going to... Like Arsenal, in terms of conceding a goal in the first half, you just don't see that. But if you said there's 30 minutes left, right, either Liverpool, can they get a goal, or an Arsenal get a goal? Okay, Arsenal from a set piece, which is very structured. But, like, in terms of, like, making those changes and that player making a change to the game, I think, like, today, like, there's still... you've seen that, like, in terms of the sort of late game vulnerabilities, again, that can be flipped both ways. It's kind of worked for you in some games,
but not.
And then in other games, it's not worked for you. But that's because because you're chasing. And then once you're chasing, you've gone so far, you could get hit the other way.
And also that, like the...
Factor 9, that was. On mistake 9, that was.
Chelsea, Palace, Brentford scored quite early, and Brentford pretty much had the game wrapped up, I felt. all of the things that I've called out are all things which are all dependent on the system, all dependent on the deficiencies that we're creating for ourselves.
And the style of the league right now.
And the style of the league. And I think I think Liverpool are trying to get ahead of that style and leapfrog. And that's what Pep was trying. I think we've spoken about this on the podcast where it's like leapfrogging tactical trends sometimes means that you get caught towards the end of the wave of the previous tactical trend.
Yeah.
Because they're so sure of what they're doing.
Which part of Pep's brilliance is that he was like, he'd go, everyone go, oh, and then he'd just go again.
Right.
And kept everyone able to move. But in the end, it fell down.
And that's where Klopp was initially with the pressing so far ahead. And then pressing really became like a real thing. I'm not saying pressing didn't exist.
And Slot last year with being a little bit more direct.
And rotating in the midfield and the midfield rotations that we had. And we've just completely, I think we've started that midfield from last year in like 2 games maybe. Right. Maximum.
But the rest of the league has evolved as well to that, going, there's going to be, these games are these are going to be transitions and this is going to work for us.
And so I think all of that then goes to say, I think Liverpool, again, just need to kind of get weather that storm and continue pushing in that direction. It doesn't mean sack Slot and he's never going to be good again. It just means what we are doing is, to an extent, neutering him in this period because we are in a halfway house. Yeah. There's no synergy because of that.
Yeah. And all these pairings, like we just said, like Trent and Salah, like that, and because Salah was just on another planet last year and the whole team was platformed towards him, then you kind of didn't notice it to the same extent. But then Frimpong and Salah is obviously incredibly new, different.
They're often in each other's space when they're on the field together. And, Salah needs to...
For me, same for Kirkers and Gakpo.
Yes.
They both of them want to go... Yeah. Sorry. Kirkers wants to go that way. Gakpo wants to go this way. Yeah. So they're just like slapping into each other.
And also that is... But their starting position is very similar. And that's where they slap into each other. And Gakpo... I think I saw something in your notes about whether Gakpo was relied on or one of the trusted guys.
So yeah, in one of the reports, it's interesting. In the first 5 games when Liverpool were winning, there's sort of heroes and villains on this report. And the heroes were Salah, Chiesa and Frimpong.
Chiesa, by the way, some people are saying we should play Chiesa more. I think that was a bit of a...
I think you're missing why he's dangerous.
You're missing his impact and why, again, we're talking about the 11 that start the game, the 11 that finish the game. He is that impactful...
If he was to start, where would he start?
It might be in Salah's position. It might be in...
worth a look, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, it's also that I think if you play him in the Salah position, but you basically take his position in the starting 11, not as a right winger, he plays as a bit more of a striker. Yeah. Which, again, kind of goes towards where we're going with this.
Yep.
But this is my confusion. Salah played as a second striker earlier in his career at, where did he come from in
Fiorentina, Roma.
Fiorentina and Roma. He played off a big man might have been Edin Dzeko or one of the big, it's a big Slav on that side. And he was kind of productive there. Maybe that's because Wirtz is also picking up part of that heat map that Salah wants to take up. And we need him to maintain some of that width. But I just think at the moment, Salah can't go wide because of Frimpong or Bradley. He can't come inside because of Wirtz or Ekitike or Isak, whoever that is who wants to drop a little bit deeper. And he's sort of lost in that space where he's just under people's feet almost, which sounds disrespectful to say.
But you're right, because everyone was away from him before.
Right. And now he doesn't have that same space. He's very much in traffic of his own players and an opposition low block. So he's again, I think, but it has to be Salah that adapts. It can't be the other way around. Because we're just, as we saw in the Brentford game, there's other people tracking back for him. There's other people holding the whip for him. There's other people who are becoming an option for him. And that's too much building around what Salah wants. And maybe it's Slot going, we're trying to accommodate you. Are you going to perform if we accommodate you? Yeah. But that sounds like a lot of kind of cut for nose, spite your face type sort of thing.
But yeah, you're right. The villains in the first 5 games were Wirtz because of the flop perception.
Sure.
And Cody Gakpo criticised not fitting in, wasting many opportunities. They needed to bench him. He was supposedly ineffective, and he was holding back the attack.
But he had the one thing in the whole team, which was a repeatable route to goal. I think that's where Slot will have... I don't think he's a stats head, but like he will have gone, ball gets to you, and you cut inside, and you shoot. And it happened against United. 3 times we hit the woodwork. And two of those times were Cody Gakpo creating space for himself. And it's not like he hit the woodwork accidentally. It was like I'm going to get the ball there, or I'm going to get the ball there. That was really important. Having those repeatable systems to goal is really important. It's a bit Erling Haaland-y, not as prolific, but a bit like City know there's a repeatable thing they can do to create space and time. That's what Gakpo does.
My only concern with that is the fact that, like, because Kirkes, I really think the opposition go, don't worry about him.
Really?
Because I don't think because Gakpo's so selfish, he's not going to play it to him anyway.
Right.
And otherwise, like as I said, he's a pressing trigger. Otherwise, that means that when Gakpo does cut in, the whole of the opposition can go, don't worry, like, let's just focus on this, right?
Yeah,
but you almost need to be able to, like, call people's bluff by, say, if it was Robertson making that kind of run, there might be a moment you're sort of slightly more concerned right now, I think, that he may actually pass him the ball.
I get what you mean.
And the villains now, like, apparently have changed. Alisson's the hero because he's not there. It's always that's always the thing. So I get it. And Chiesa still. And then the villains are Wirtz and Isak.
Isak's not really played enough to be a villain, I don't think. Can I ask your opinion on something? So I've got kind of a bit of an alternative opinion on Isak, but it goes kind of deep.
Oh God.
I was quite put off by the way that Isak was treated in the summer by the media, the Newcastle media in particular, but broadly the national media. Mm-hmm. And some, but let's just leave them out of it, Newcastle fans. I understand why people are angry about that, in the same way as I understand why people are angry that Trent left. I get that. You want the best for your team. Right. I think sometimes abuse can become a smear campaign. And I think strikers thrive off the love of the population. And I think Isak maybe naively thought, I've had the chat with Eddie Howe, which he claims he had, or whoever it is at the club. And I've told Newcastle, you've not fulfilled the promises. And I have lost faith in the project, or I've lost faith in whatever's going on, and I want to leave. I don't think it was not out of the realms of possibility that if I knew that, and I'd heard that in March and April of 2025, that Newcastle will have known something.
Yeah.
And I think that the campaign in the media, and particularly some of the Newcastle-based media, was 40 to 50-year-old men writing things that they knew were not true. And that they knew would get them an interview later in the year, or would get them kudos from the club, or points they could bank. But that, to me, is not journalism. That is having an agenda that you are not questioning from one of the richest sets of people in the world.
I think like we often do at the end of every podcast we do, we end up talking about kind of fan media and journalism. Yeah. And I think that is, I think I've seen that. Like,
do you agree, though? Or am I just being... I'm not saying therefore he shouldn't perform ever.
I think journalism more than ever is almost influencers, right? And you've got your different guys who are becoming those different influencers. And so they, as opposed to playing to the truth, people are playing to the audience. And I think
that space has been created.
Very appealing to many.
Yeah, and obviously that's much easier to exploit because actually it doesn't rely so much on the media or the truth, or it doesn't rely on contacts. It just relies on a money source, essentially. And as long as I can secure cash from printing whatever, doesn't really matter, does it? And also, to an extent, it's a bit Thogden-y, where it's like, come on, guys, it's just football. You know? It's like, the journalist can kind of go, well, I'm only doing sport. I'm not, it's not a government thing. It's not political. To an extent, it's explainable.
But if he signs a contract, regardless of him saying he wants to go or not,
and I understand,
they are within their rights to go, I'm sorry, we'd like to keep you.
I totally agree with that.
See, I don't know anything, by the way. Like, I don't know the ins and outs of it. I'm just going off the basis of what I'm aware of.
So the contract thing, I think, is a little bit disingenuous.
Why?
You sign a contract with a team, and I totally get you have to see the contract out or whatever. I think the second that you default to, well, what does it say in the contract? You've already crossed a psychological line of, all right, the understanding between us here is gone and we need to revert back to what we said the understanding would be. And I think we all know football is more than just, but the contract says you'll score goals. And the contract says you'll field yourself. Like, once you're there, something in the relationship has broken down earlier on.
Yeah, but your friend, like often they say in business, your friendship's only as good as the contract that you've signed with each other going in.
Yeah, right. But it's the same as when Arsenal bid £40 million for Suarez. Liverpool didn't go, the contract does state here that it's over 40. And that was fine. But the second that we want to talk about a play, and I think there was a real narrative, and again, maybe rightly so, but there was a real narrative of Liverpool have come along and unsettled a player, and Newcastle are the victim of the nefarious lines of Liverpool reaching in and using their power to turn ahead.
Which was what Madrid, isn't the Madrid the same thing? With Trent?
But the point with Trent is, I actually think so there are big differences between Trent and Isak, and do you want to unpack them? Or is
Probably not.
No.
Because it's got a long one, isn't it?
But you get what I mean, though.
But exclusively, I'm talking about, in terms of Real Madrid, like they put in a £20 million bid, didn't they?
Yeah.
Which is naughty.
Whilst that's naughty, I think Liverpool knew the writing was on the wall by that point, and Trent knew where the writing on the wall was. And where Liverpool fans broadly broke down in their relationship was they felt that Trent had not been... They felt that they were closer with Trent, or they felt they were owed something in terms of an explanation from Trent, or that they felt the wool had been pulled over their eyes.
Okay.
And I don't think that we're being critical enough of Newcastle in this situation and going, so did he have the chat or not with you? Like, did he tell you about his intention to leave? And did you just ignore a player? Did he come along and go, I actually do feel like you guys aren't moving as quick as you could here? Because Eddie Howe, paint however you want, the summer did not go well for Newcastle.
No, absolutely not. But I guess...
And if I'm Isak, I'm looking at that and going, guys, you're not moving anywhere here. Like, I've got a really... Eddie Howe does not go in a press conference and say, it is a short career, unless there is something in his mind that says, it's a short career and he needs to capitalise and he's not going to capitalise while he's here.
Yeah, I just think there is the backstop of the contract, though.
But again, I get the contract side of things, and I understand that a contract is
otherwise it's redundant, isn't it? But there has to be some soft or hard power to that.
But I think there is hard power, because he didn't just leave the club for free.
Yeah.
The hard power that they enforced there was the 130 million. But I feel, and I'm not arguing with that, I'm arguing with the character assassination that goes along with that.
Right.
And I think
that will quite. And I think that's happened before with other players as well.
But that doesn't justify it then either. I also don't.
Yeah, I think there's a line that can be crossed with all these things all the time. Like, there's loads of players I don't like, but like if I saw them, I wouldn't do anything. Like, so there's common human decency with all sorts of things. But if he goes to St James's Park, they're within their rights to boo him because they wanted him to stay.
Completely agree.
So what are you saying they?
No, but this isn't about. This is about the. Fans booing is not character assassination. Fans booing is people who've earned money to go and see you and feel that their institution is important to them and that you are not regarding that with the importance that they regard it because you signed a contract, because you made a promise. That's not character assassination. That is people working class people.
So what do you? So what's the point that you're making it? Do you feel like there's a bit of a smear campaign? There's an ongoing one with this?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
And
I don't think he's played enough for that to have occurred. I think as soon as he starts, I think it's the same theme as the whole pod. As soon as he starts scoring,
he'll be fine.
Everyone shut up.
No, I agree with that. But the problem is, I feel like that is delayed, and I think he's still. Again, it's totally his. He's created that situation. Liverpool have created that situation.
Until he's scoring goals, he's not scoring goals. And there's going to be.
He's 28 until he's 29.
But when you go for over 100 million, there's huge pressure on it, regardless. That's why everyone's going after Wirtz. That's why everyone's going to go after Isak unless he is utterly delivering on a high price tag.
Yes, I still think that there are certain people in a certain pocket of the world who play to what they consider to be the gallery. And the gallery in Newcastle is Newcastle fans. And Newcastle, similar to Liverpool, is a place which is very tribal, very emotional, and would cut you off if you say the wrong thing, or would be a lot more short shrift, should we say, with how they treat you. And I think certain journalists are trying to exploit that in order to make a buck.
I feel like there's something I don't know.
Maybe, I don't know. Also, maybe you value contracts more than I do.
Yeah, or maybe I'm just like, I don't know, like local papers will be partisan, won't they?
Yeah, I don't back.
Like, I don't read it, but like Manchester Evening News or Liverpool Echo, I'd imagine they have like a lot of bias to them. I agree. I would guess.
I wouldn't back lying about someone though, or saying, or for instance, something that a journalist from Newcastle tweeted was a compilation of Isak missing goals and saying he didn't want us to qualify for the Champions League.
Oh wow! Well, yeah, that's absurd.
I would say, in any other walk of life, if we witnessed a 26 or 27-year-old guy being smeared like that, or having someone say that, we would go, "Are you all right, mate?" Like, to the journalist, we go, "Mate, come on, you're a 40-year-old or whatever you are."
I think the point you're making is these guys, they should be, their behaviour needs to be held to a higher standard in terms of their journalism.
And I agree with that. I also think the other side of that is every American that I spoke to about this went, "Just play a power, man. He just wants to go." Like in the NBA, if a player wants to go, they go, "I want to go." And there are probably a couple of really angry guys. But broadly, people go, "Well, he wants to leave. Why wouldn't you let him go? He doesn't want to be here anymore." And I don't want to support someone who doesn't want to be here. Does that make sense? Like, second I heard that Trent didn't want to be here, it changed the nature of my relationship with him. And I thought, maybe Madrid is better.
Yeah, and I think probably in 2025, it's not 1990. No. So I think Harry Kane's probably his love of Spurs is so high that he couldn't go, "Well, I'm going to post this when it's the team of the year thing or whatever it is,"
right?
To aggravate. Like they kind of called his bluff there a little bit with Harry Kane, but others want to behave differently, and I'm totally within their rights to do that. Like everyone can do what they want to do, can't they?
Right.
But I think like in terms of there's no data on Isak yet, right? And it's the same problem with all of these guys. Is like
knee jerk.
Is the chemistry of the team.
Right.
People aren't going where they want to go. You got if someone doesn't want to run as hard as someone else, you've not got someone who can kind of do the lift.
Well, Szoboszlai is kind of doing a lot of that lifting right now.
He's doing a hell of a lot, man.
He's doing too much.
He's doing too much.
It's becoming a bit. He's running number 8 on his back, and there's times where I look at him and go, "It's not Igor Biscan in midfield next to you, mate."
God bless him.
Yeah.
Last few, just to, so they're heard. Over reliance on key players. Certainly last year, and you're kind of feeling it now. Attacking stagnation, over-reliance on the Salah conundrum has been described here as well.
The stagnation thing is a good point.
Yeah.
There are times where it does look like everyone sort of goes, "Why aren't you moving?"
You've got to go where you want to go. That's the thing that's really hard. It sounds so simple, but it's the truth.
But we've also got a lot of players who are like a little bit like, "Oh, I'm going to do something good now." And none of them are doing anything good now. Like, Ekitike gets it, little mazy run. Isak gets it. In from the left. Like, those are all things, that's not a system. That is, do that thing.
Individual quality.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Luck running out and lack of team spirits at the end here, which I'm not sure, I think that's unfair.
What do you think?
I think, look, it's harder to have a good team spirit when you're not winning. And I think that's the thing overall here. I did kind of look into, like, how do you kind of solve this a little bit? And I think the thing throughout is chemistry, right? And so in terms of I searched, like, how do you accelerate the process of that? And the top one is prioritise on-field chemistry.
Which, sadly, we're alluding to the fact that Salah doesn't start.
I think Arne Slot is a very smart man, and he needs to go,
finish that sentence.
He needs to go, who is the future of this club?
Yeah.
And how do we make as many pieces fit and work together, and players can go where they want to go and do what they want to do to be as good as they can be. And whoever are the casualties from that, he kind of needs to commit to that. But he also needs a sort of subtle plan B because of the amount of games that Liverpool play that allows you to sort of like we talk about that transition thing. It's almost like you kind of go back and go forward and go back and forward and then gently get to where you want to be because the results will lead to that. But the final question I wanted to ask you was, let's see what your answer is. Next 5 games would you rather lose the next 5, but you can really, really see the performances are going in the right direction, or, with the Champions League and trying to defend your title and all those things, would you rather just get 5 wins?
I'd rather see us move in the right direction, but I'm not sure that I'm in step with everyone.
I would say, if I was a Liverpool fan right now, I would utterly, because you've got quality, I would utterly switch off from winning or losing games. I would just go, is everyone collectively playing better? Are you breaking teams down better? Are you defending better?
I think part of that, though, then is the players seeing the outcome from that being wins. And obviously, also, if the team does play better, you're more likely to win. And there are things in there where it's like, if the team does play better, we can win some of those next 5 games. So kind of chicken and egg in a way, isn't it? You're putting one before the other. But I agree.
Is that possible at a club like Liverpool?
I think if you publicly call it out and basically, Slot keeps up with this honesty and some of the players go, we're fully behind this, we know we're in a transitional phase and we know we're going to bring up this new shape and all that. But I think Liverpool again, the halfway house is sort of, I think Liverpool want to explode onto the scene with this new system. And the few of the players are a bit like biting their tongues, in Robertson and Van Dijk, when they go, we're not all pulling in the right direction yet, or we're sort of not quite there, because they know there's something there that is just, they're probably in training going, that was a good training session. And then on the weekend, it doesn't quite work in that way because someone's got another plan. Because, damn it, the opposition is trying to beat us.
The tricky thing is, like, if you kind of, it's sort of half, like you say again, half committing, that erodes the buy-in to a plan as well.
100%. And I think that's part of my issue at the moment, is we don't look committed to one or the other. And that is a real,
So what would you do?
I would commit to the new system, even if it means playing Robbo out of position as a centre-back, or Gomez for 45 minutes and Robbo for 45 minutes, or, I think the problem is that we don't have anyone from the back line that can carry then. I would even look at, when Gravenberch is fit again, playing him as the third centre-back, and it being like, look, we know you can defend, but we're not going to over-rely on you for that. There's 2 other guys next to you that can do that. And that's where you've seen Curtis Jones dropping into that back line and becoming that third centre-back that then brings the ball out. That's where I think Mark Gay would have just been like, he would have been seamlessly already in that position, and that maybe pushes other people further down. So that, for me, is I think a lot hinges on that player, whether that's Gravenberch or Curtis Jones or whoever. I think if we fix that, we fix a lot of our issues. Further down the field as well, because suddenly you've got a player that can bring it out and players move around him. But at the moment, we don't quite have that click. That would be my...
I think it's interesting.
Confidence.
It'd be interesting to see how... Yeah, if it gets worse before it gets better.
I think it could do that. I also think it might feel worse before it gets better. Whether it actually gets worse or whether it just continues in the same vein. And then we just obviously go, this isn't turning around, this isn't working. But it doesn't mean... I don't think the team will degrade even further, put it that way. I think it'll just be, we'll just continue to be neutral.
Right.
And that feels bad. Because we've also got teams like Madrid, and Liverpool don't just want to play neutrally against Madrid.
Yeah.
We don't want to get, Trent might play right back that day. We sort of want our right back to be like on it that day. There was that time, last year, Conor Bradley had that tackle where he went through Mbappe and we beat them very convincingly because they weren't very good. This might be the reverse of that this year, where it's like, Trent gets to go through someone or someone doesn't like that.
Funny. You're so confident last year, it just feels like your back's against the wall, doesn't it?
We're also looking at, though, maybe get a bit more space against Madrid. And Wirtz thrives in that space. Or maybe there is that seems unlikely given their midfield is extremely competent, but you get my point. Or I think we are looking for that, there it is. And that Frankfurt was not that, but we thought it might have been.
Fun thing, a couple of bits from this, people to go away and think about, I guess, in terms of accelerating that process. I think, coming back to that feeling with Van Dijk, I think he needs to tweak his leadership somewhat, a little bit, just to cultivate trust, which is what's written down here, just to kind of help those guys, because I think they're struggling. And also, again, in terms of where are you moving towards, focus on a core group, who is their core group now?
I think we know that core group. I think we know broadly Wirtz is going to be the guy we build around. Ekitike, Isaka are going to be our strikers. Gakpo's just signed that new contract, so that's kind of the repeatable front line. Defensively, we've signed Kerkez. I think Kerkez is still, they spent 40 million on him. I don't think we're going to just go get another left back.
Yeah, I wonder.
Do you think, would you move on from Kerkez?
I just think, if you're going to play Gakpo and Kerkez, I just can't, I'm not seeing it work currently.
What if in a 3-5-2, Gakpo changed?
He's like a wing back?
I'm not saying wing back, but maybe there is I think Liverpool will play a slightly more asymmetrical system going forward.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm struggling with it, I'll be honest.
I'm not upset.
It's just it's how I feel. I'm always happy to be wrong. I don't want anyone to fail, but the numbers would suggest that when it comes to certain transfers, not all of them do work out. So
who would you think? Are you saying Kerkez is the one there?
It's the one I can't get away from right now.
I think, yeah, you're right. I can't get away from Liverpool basically just internally sort of writing this season off and going, not going, hey, finish 15th, that'll be awful. But just going, it is transitional. In January, we might get another centre-back and then we'll shift or whatever. Or when Joe Gomez unfortunately only got injured, because I was interested to see, after his kind of breakout 60 minutes against Southampton, whether we would have gone, there might be a bit of a shape we can play there with him.
I just keep thinking the best version of Kirkers is utilising like all his energy and strength and tenacity
to win it
attacking
downfield.
Ability.
Yeah.
And Gakpo will never want to be in those half spaces. Never.
He doesn't want to start there.
The only way it works actually, is you have Wirtz there.
Right.
And then that means that Kirkers can, because Wirtz will naturally come inside, then Kirkers can wholeheartedly go.
Yeah.
That's it. But at the moment, Gakpo's there. Gakpo is always standing there. So that's why I'm struggling with that at the moment.
I think there'll be a game where Liverpool completely unload on an opposition, and I think that's what's going to happen. But I don't necessarily think that's the turning point. But I think there is a point where it is like, oh wow, 6-1 or something.
I think that what could happen is that's in March.
Possibly,
when
yeah.
It's like, you see it so many times, like the team has all full season, but they are a big team, and then they kind of make this charge for the Champions League later down the line, where the pressure's kind of off. And that used to be Liverpool's season, didn't it? This is the year.
That was the season after we won the title last time with Klopp.
Yeah. But I mean, we're way back, like the Julio years, you go, this year. And then you'd all fall away, then you'd struggle, then you'd kind of find something near the end and repeat.
I think Klopp maybe has reset the DNA a little bit to get away from the repetition. And I think maybe that might just be a Premier League cycle a bit more now, where it's like that's Chelsea, that's Liverpool, that's Newcastle. There's a bunch of teams who are like, get that 4th or 5th spot. The weird thing is, I think United are actually like going to turn that corner and get a top 4.
I just want to see him get 5 games so that guy can cut his hair. That's all I want.
I've already checked out there.
Oh really? Maybe I've arrived late. I don't know.
I'm not sure I'm going to like it. I'm not sure I'm going to like him with he's going to look like you.
I think it will be ultimately disappointing.
Yeah.
But I just need to see it.
What's he going to do with the hair? Like, surely the hair has to go on a wig and then in a museum or something. And it's like, this was pulled
Which museum?
The football museum.
Next to Bobby Charlton.
Yeah. Bobby Charlton, guy who didn't cut his hair for 3,000 days or whatever it was. It was also pulled by that like angry fan who was like,
I saw that.
What are you doing?
Let's go have lunch, shall we?
That's lunch.
Thank you for listening, watching, supporting the podcast. Please continue to do so. We'll be back in the studio next week with Nedum, all being well, which will be delicious.
I love those ones where you're sat at one end of the couch and he's sat at the other, and it looks like a really relaxed conversation between two friends in a coffee shop.
Oh, good. That's literally what we're here about.
It's really enjoyable.
Might film it. Go check out Loz. Links to him in the description. Got a Liverpool channel. Has his own channel as well.
Yeah.
He's on all of. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Thanks.
Well done. Have you got it? Yeah. Brilliant. See, and let us know your thoughts in the comments down below. Bye.